one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering community for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast. The podcast where we delve into those salty, salty mines of the Magic the Gathering community, find the saltiest stories, the saltiest posts, put them in our mine cart, and bring them right back up to you, our dear prospectors at home. As always, I'm your host, Sam, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Mike and Tony. Say hey, guys.
What up, what up, what up?
Hello.
Hello, indeed. And before we go any further, you know we got to do it every single week. We got to shout out our nice patrons because they are nice and they deserve it. They're special. We like them. And this week we have Alex Balix, Crean Bean, Hephaestus Bolts, Prime Speaker Florian, Yafe Judge, Dr. Black, Accidental TPK, and Royal Flood. Thanks for being so nice, guys.
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
You guys like how I remembered that?
I did.
I kind of like when you have to go back and get it later in post.
I don't. It's so annoying to edit, dude. I don't like that. How dare you wish that upon me?
This is the first time I'm recording in a little bit, and so I had such a euphoric moment just before I was gonna say what up, what up, what up. I feel really good. Hopefully this is a good episode. Otherwise, then get fucked. But it felt good in that moment because I've been musicaling. So
yeah, I saw you smiling there, Tony. That was nice. It has been a while.
It's been a while
since you've been recording with us, but today's not about you. We're not going to even talk about that shit.
It's not.
And also, people wouldn't even want to hear about it, honestly.
Get fucked.
That's right, folks, because we have another person in the mine with us today. We have CovertGoBlue. You know him from his YouTube channel. He's a Magic Arena streamer. He's the one of Best in One. Did I say that right, CGB?
No.
Did I fuck that up?
No. Holy, hold on. Just a second. Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, the one in Best of One. And I'm here on the Howling Salt Mine podcast to try to set a few things straight about blue being a trash color.
This isn't what we agreed to.
Let's get right to it.
I think this is the first time we've had a guest really take the reins like that. I kind of like it.
It's
I think
nice.
it's waking something in me. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So you're saying we could get along?
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, hi. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Really excited to be here, guys.
We're so happy to have you. So it sounds like you maybe have some opening arguments about why blue is not trash.
Yes, but I also get it. If blue were a nice color and everybody else liked it, I honestly don't think I would like it. There's something visceral about just seeing hope leave their eyes when you tap 2 blue mana.
Yeah.
I just in love with that feeling since I was 14.
I mean, it's the same feeling I get when I put a stacks piece down on the board. I just smile ear to ear. It's the best.
It's the joy of just being a little stinker. You're being a little menace. It's great.
Just doing them dirty.
So CGB, for the folks at home who don't know your content, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where can we find your content? Where can people find you if they hear this episode, they love it and they want more of that CGB razzle dazzle?
And they somehow don't know of your excellent stream and channel.
Yes, that too.
Thank you.
Who's this guy? Who's fucking out here?
Oh my God, Tony.
I believe I'm the only one named CovertGoBlue on the internet. So for CovertGoBlue on YouTube, I have a channel where I play a lot of MTG Arena, but I'm leaning into the whole MTG lifestyle side since I played Arena Best of One standard nearly every day for 6 years. So now I have a Commander show I put out there. Now I have some lore related episodes I put out there, and I have some collaboration type stuff where I show somebody who plays Hearthstone for a living old Magic cards and
I love that.
figure out if they're any good.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really fun. So yeah, it's becoming more of a MTG entertainment channel. So you can check it out on YouTube if you never have.
That's awesome, man.
Hell
Yeah, and you guys just hit episode 100 with your Commander show, right? Wasn't that like 4 or 5 days ago?
Yeah, that was just this last week, and 100 episodes of a Commander show, mostly doing weekly. So about 2 years in there, and shooting a Commander show is work.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you guys?
Please.
Oh my God! Every Commander show you watch out there, whether it's Scry Babies or Game Nights or any of the other ones, that is way more work than it looks. And it is hard to just get on camera after putting in that kind of work and just be chill and have a nice time, which is why I like to get a little feisty when I play Commander. Yeah, I like to talk a little smack. You got to let some of that tension out from just creating all the time. You got to unleash the raw power of the cards and see, again, the disappointment in your friend's face.
well, you're in good company with us here because that's pretty much how we always play.
Oh, I learned.
Yeah, we're fucking real.
You did learn.
Ooh.
You did learn about that
Oh,
one.
Lord.
I
Learned
can't believe
today.
Mike would put those stacks pieces in that deck. Isn't he so cruel for doing that?
You guys did tell this story on the previous episode, but in case some people missed it or just forgot or had no idea who they were talking about, I'm the one who in my first ever cEDH game that I was so excited to play with my heroes from the Howling Salt Mine was going last on some kind of a Turbo Nas deck, and their Magda in the hands of our friend Sam, supposedly designed by Tony.
Mike gets credit for
Oh,
that one.
supposedly designed by Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, I could have taken it from the one who calls blue trash. It's harder to take from you, I'll have you know. So there we go. Turn 1 Sphere of Resistance. And I'm pretty sure I resolved 1 or 2 spells the entire game.
That sounds about right. I think one of them was maybe a Jeweled Lotus that you had to pay one for.
Yeah. I couldn't even play a commander off that thing. That's how those commanders happen to work. It was Clue Farm. So
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was only one. That's the only one you resolved, right? Because you played the Mindbreak Trap, but it didn't resolve, right? Isn't that what happened? Or did it get like swatted or something? Something
Yeah,
happened.
I had the red elemental blast, I think.
Yeah, so it didn't even resolve, which is even worse. But that's a good counterspell right there, Red Elemental Blast.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, CGB, I was chastised over and over again by my co-hosts for doing that afterwards. They were very unhappy with me. Tony was really just unhappy because he also did nothing that game. And,
No, I was
and didn't have
unhappy
fun.
because we sat there for a while, everyone doing fucking like fuck all.
yeah,
Sometimes you get the stacks in your hand and you just leave it there. You just
Yes.
leave it there.
like
Nah.
6 beautiful turns, like 6
Yeah.
glorious turns of watching Magda spin wheels and then still have the red blast at the end of it. And on top of that, not letting the content creator guy that you're playing with know that a picture was being taken for social media. So I'm sitting over there, not even looking at the camera, just looking lost and confused while you guys are all smiling like, yeah.
Oh no.
Need the authenticity, you know?
Well, in my defense, I think it was the Krenko player that took that photo, and I truly have no idea who that person was.
Okay. Sure. Phil, you found the camera. You could have helped the guy out.
That's true.
Oh man. Well, let's jump into our interview portion. This is something that we like to do whenever we have a guest on the show. We want to quiz you. Really, it's an exam, And like we say every episode, if you fuck it up at all, we will cut your mic. It's those are the rules. And if you talk about the Magda game again and disparage me anymore, we will also cut the mic.
It doesn't sound like I have to. It sounds like these guys got my back.
They do. They do so much.
The recorded content of us giving Sam shit for that is very much the tip of the iceberg on how much shit we've given him for that.
Yeah. It was Tony just looked me in the face and was like, it just wasn't fun, Sam. And a very serious Tony moment. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, dude.
Were you not mad but just disappointed.
Truly.
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
Truly.
that is exactly what it was.
Yeah.
I know it was the correct play for like Magic playing, but that doesn't make it the correct play for fun having.
But I had so much fun, Tony.
Yeah. Ask the questions.
Every game has a finite amount of fun, and I want to have it all.
That is the blue attitude right there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's exactly it.
Oh, yeah. That's the arena attitude.
Yeah. Yep. That's why I'm going to play all my spells on your turn, because I want to have your turn also. I want mine and yours.
That's why I put Seedborn Muse in all my decks.
Our upkeep.
Well, let's jump into it. So, CGB, the first question that we like to ask people is, how did you get into Magic?
Oh, man. How did I get into Magic? Boy Scout camp. I was 12 years old. Somebody brought a deck. It was a revised starter deck. It was the only 60 cards within 100 miles, and we were in the wilderness for a week, so we couldn't go get more. So we cut the 60 card starter deck in half and play against each other. And there was a very real chance that whatever color spell was in your opener, you actually didn't have the basic lands in your deck to cast that spell.
Do you remember what color the deck was?
All 5. It was literally an unedited, out of the box revised starter deck back when they sold those. They sold them as 60 card decks, 20 lands, 40 spells, all 5 colors, random, 3 rares, whatever uncommons, etc. That's what we had.
Wow. Was there any card that was just the bomb?
Oh, yeah. Do you guys know this one? Rock Hydra.
Oh,
Rock Hydra.
I do.
I don't know Rock
That's a
Hydra.
fucking old Hydra.
It's the red Hydra, right?
It is the
Yes.
Red Hydra from the revised. In fact, yeah, red X enters with X +1/+1 counters. I'm pretty sure when it takes damage, it just loses 1 until it dies. Not even that great, something like that. But oh my God, we didn't have a dragon. We didn't have a craw worm, but that was the biggest, scariest monster. Also, we had a wild growth that none of us understood how to play. We thought every time you tapped the land and enchanted with it, you made a new forest, like the land forest.
Nice.
That's a bomb.
Combo.
That is such a shared experience with that card, and like Llanowar elves and stuff like that. Like, I hear that from so many people when they talk about early Magic. Is it said add a green, and they're like, I'll get a land and put it into play. Like, what else could this mean?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's one of the least intuitive parts for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Fun, wholesome fact before we get too salty. The kid who brought that deck, his name is Ross. I met up with him again this year after not talking to him for like 20 some years. He gave me the Rock Hydra.
Oh,
wow.
So I have it.
fucking awesome.
That's awesome, dude.
It is heavily played.
I bet. If it made it through the woods,
Did you recut the deck every time? Was it like half and half? So every time you just randomly got half of
Every game, shuffle it all together, cut it in half, see what happens.
That's
man.
actually low-key kind of fucking
I
amazing.
love that.
you were on like the Dan like single deck Judge Tower trend way
Pile
before
gal.
it was cool.
Well, we didn't. We had no choice. It was all the cards we had.
I love that because it's like a coin flip to see who gets the Rock Hydra, and sometimes games like that are really fun.
The deck had like 3 mountains, though.
I was gonna say it's coin flip of did you get it and can you play it?
Yeah.
Yeah, getting the Rock Hydra is half the battle.
Yeah. It's got big Exodia
It's Exodia,
energy.
yeah. When you, damn, I love that.
So you found Magic at Boy Scout camp. How soon after did you really catch the bug? Was it like immediate? You jumped right into Magic, or did you take some time off and rediscover it later on in life?
Instantaneous.
Yeah.
Instantaneous, intense. Like within a year, my mom was helping me dial the 900 number to get into the first Pro Tour in New York.
Oh,
That's
hell
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, and I did. My sister and I were in that Pro Tour. And that was my first tournament because they didn't have tournaments in Northern Michigan. I'm probably the only person in the world, along with my sister, whose their first tournament ever was a Pro Tour. So I'll take that.
That's wild.
Awesome.
Fucking amazing.
How'd it go?
I got 55th. and my sister got 56th, and that's
Hey.
How many people were
Yeah,
in
amazing.
the Pro Tour at that time?
so. This was juniors division, and there were 170 some, I believe, in the juniors
Wow.
division, and I think there were 300 some in the masters division. The top 64 qualified for a future Pro Tour, so I kind of won a qualification in that way.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I couldn't afford to ever cash it in, and it ended up being my only Pro Tour, despite spending the rest of my life chasing that high, or at least well into my 20s.
Well, do you still have the phone number? Have you tried calling again?
No, that's a great idea. And now that you say that, I feel really stupid that I haven't.
Yeah. And better yet, if your mom calls again, maybe you'll get in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go ask my mom about that. I'm sure that she has a way with words. She can probably do it.
Does your sister still play Magic?
Now and then, I gave her for a birthday gift a few years ago the deck, or at least a recreated version of the deck that she loved the most, which is a red green beatdown deck with Curd Ape and Urnum Jin.
Nice.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so she has that. She's been teaching her son how to play. He's, I think, 5 or 6 now, and he's played Arena with me a few times. And it's really funny because when he wins, he gets really cocky. And then, I walk out of the room and he keeps playing. I'm like, you shouldn't keep playing. Sure enough, back down to bronze 4.
Yeah.
What you doing?
You got to hit X faster to counter those spells.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. That is great. So you get into Magic, you're loving it. Are you mostly playing Standard throughout all of this? Because like Standard is your bread and butter and has been for a very long time.
Oh yeah, Standard for probably the first like 10 to 15 years, always my jam. I played a little bit of Extended when it was new, and I would play Draft when I wanted to qualify for stuff.
Mhm.
I actually had pretty good results in competitive draft formats, but I never liked it. It was just Standard, please, more Standard.
That's so interesting. I'd never ever really played Standard.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard the show. Tony and I just played like kitchen
I
table.
thought I
Tank
played
in
Standard,
college.
but then I
Yeah.
realized that was just bullshit. It was just whatever I wanted. Like, that
Standard
wasn't
sounds
Standard.
vanilla, right? It sounds like whatever
Yeah.
that is, but no, it's actually the only format that super quick rotates and that you have to keep up with, or it's gone.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like the most like rules intensive deck building, like comparatively to other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had like Ravnica and Mirrored and stuff in my deck with Innistrad, and I was like, this is a Standard deck, right?
Would be now that they don't rotate anymore.
Yeah. There is a refresh coming though soon, right?
Yes, but on the channel, I just continue the meme that it never rotates ever.
I mean, if Shieldred is still there, did it really even rotate?
Exact. Yes, and Sheldoran's not rotating.
What's like the draw for you on Standard? Like what is it about it as a format that really is like, ticking the boxes for you?
Yeah, honestly, it is that it rotates. It is that it's temporary, and that I can look back on like standards of the past and be like, yeah, that was a great format because of this and that was a great format because of this card and this card. Draft is too self-contained. Like you play this one set and then it all goes away. Standard is like the consistent change of it just really often presented new opportunities. It made you look at the cards that were being released different and how it works with this. But as soon as that rotates, how does it work now without it? That endless puzzle is perfect for me. I like challenges that have constraints. I like Magic Duels for the same reason. You had like 90 cards in your Magic Duels deck, but you could only play 60 and it was best of one. So finding the perfect 60 was its own challenge. That's how I got into best of one, was Magic Duels. I just love those challenges.
Yeah, that's cool. It's interesting perspective, just because I feel like that's almost part of what I don't like about it, because it almost feels exhaustive to keep up. Like by the time I've like really kind of figured out what the current standard meta is, it's fucking changing again. And Tony's like a little basic, so like, I don't have time for that shit.
I've heard that. I've heard that about him.
It's super interesting watching it get played and like seeing that scene. But I've never been one to play it myself personally.
I think it's really cool to see people like you that really know each of those things, evaluate some of those new cards when they're coming out. And as soon as like the new set drops, I feel like those are the best moments ever.
Yes.
Like the rotation out is fine. Like that mixes things up and keeps it interesting. But when a new set drops and like we get to watch like you and just I remember I used to watch like LVD occasionally do some of it too. Just like start building like Song of Creation decks or like things that just like take cards that people are maybe not expecting to be relevant or useful and then like dominate stuff with it in standard. It's great. I love the random combo things that suddenly become relevant. It's really fun watching at that point in time when the sets drop.
Yeah, can't wait for the next one. Outlaws just came out at the time we're recording this, and it's the most cards in a while that have been standard relevant. So like this week's been cooking. It's been a lot of fun.
Are you cooking with the that red plot one yet? I forget what it is. The haste
plot one.
The hasty 2-drop.
No, it's hold on. It's alliteration nonsense. It's slick shot show off.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I didn't want to talk about this today. It's going to get weird because.
Oh, shucks.
Well, you're in the right place. Getting weird is what we love.
Getting weird in the mind is what we do.
And anybody listening who knows me, like, is going to. Okay. That card is actually fun. I'm literally laddering like in all my spare time with a mono red slick shot show off aggro deck. And I feel like I'm betraying the brand and everything I've stood for 6 years. And it's still fun. I gotta say, it's like the funnest aggro card I've ever played. Have you guys seen this card?
Yeah, I have.
Let's read it for Tony. It's 1 and a red for a bird wizard, which is also just fun.
It's always
but
great.
It's got flying and haste, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn, and it's a 1/2, and it has plot for 1 and a red, so you can pay that on one turn, and then on a future turn, you can cast it at sorcery speed without paying any cost.
Are they usually cheaper plot costs? Why is the plot cost the same?
So the plot cost is the same, but then you play it for
This card's
free.
trash. What are you doing? You heard it here, folks.
The thing is, you play it for free, and then you drop other non-creature spells to pump it the turn that it comes in.
Yeah, you're
Whatever.
playing this turn
Doesn't seem that
3
great.
and then jamming like not lightning bolts, but basically lightning bolts
Yeah.
on top
In
of
my
it.
case, you're jamming Twin Inferno to give it double strike, and you're casting Monstrous Rage on it, and you're just getting in there for absurd numbers.
Yeah, no, that's pretty sick.
I haven't played a ton of standard in my Magic career, but when I have, it's almost always like red aggro or like a Rakdos aggro deck. Like pretty much every deck I've ever played has been in that archetype. And there's something about just zooming and going fast in 1v1 that's so fun.
Yeah.
And then
Definitely.
those stinky blue players come in with their shark tornadoes and
There we go.
It's annoying because they fucking like you're almost there every goddamn time. Every goddamn time they stop you just before it's too late and you're sad.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's how you do it. That's how you feel alive. I don't know how like aggro mages, like I know you get your little adrenaline rushes and you're having brain chemicals because you're like, oh, I killed another one on turn 4. Embercleave, I'm great. Does that ever wear off? Because none of it feels as exciting to me as like I'm at 1 life. They have 10 burn spells in their deck. How does he get out of this one? Like that's magic to me anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's it.
I love that. I love that. Well, we have another question that we like to ask CGB, and that is, what makes you salty?
Everything makes me salty. Let's see. I don't like green decks or white decks. I don't like aggro decks of any kind, black discard decks, commander players that play too fast, cEDH, commander players who play too slow, too casual. I don't like losing. I don't like having my stuff countered, destroyed, targeted, manipulated in any way. And I generally don't like magic. That's the weird part. I swear it's a game designed to make people salty from the very beginning. Winter Orb, Stasis, Armageddon, these things were there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like it is meant to create the full range of emotions. So I lean all the way in.
It's so true.
I love that, dude.
I love that.
That is so perfect.
It's even like when you look at some of the other games that have come out, all the decisions that are slightly different are usually decisions to like bring down some of the baseline salt levels out of it. Like every other game that has a fixed resource system that comes every turn is because someone got mana screwed and was like, I don't want to deal with this ever again. I'm making Hearthstone.
Yep. And Brode, that was you. All of this is like trying to game for like the next generation that are really soft, right? But in my generation, we took the suffering and we got through it and we persevered and we're better for it. And Magic still has that for me. So thank you, Magic.
Yeah, you got good, you know? That's what you have to do. You get good. And you
Actually,
just get used to it. It's always a funny thing because people talk about salt. Obviously, we talk about salt all the time, but people talk about it in EDH and trying to like minimize it in 4-player experiences so people can all have fun and kind of do their thing. But it really is a core part of the game. Like saying no and denying people resources, whether it's cards in their hand or creatures on their table or life points in their total.
Health counter.
Like the goal is to beat the other player, and you can't do that by patting them on the back and being like, "Good job, buddy." Like that. There's no win con. Well, there might be an alt win con that lets you kind of do that, but generally speaking, there's no win con that lets you do that. You have to be a bit of a salty jerk, and you know that's just how it is. I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. Once you embrace it, like I get a certain power from embracing the salt.
and feeling it too, like not hiding from it in those moments where you're frustrated. Like it's the right thing, just like let it happen.
You know? Yeah, it's like a release, man. When I get really salty, you know, I usually feel a lot of regret afterwards, but in the moment, it's fun.
Was I too much last night? Oh no, you're fine. It was fine.
That's when I wake up and I'm like texting Tony, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude.
I really shouldn't have played that Sphere of Resistance. My bad, man."
Oh man, it's just gonna keep coming up this whole.
Dude, But here's the thing. Every game I play after that is probably going to be better.
Exactly. And that's why I did it.
Yeah. So you can always be part of the worst cEDH game he's ever played. Not even part of it. You were the cause, you know? Like,
yeah.
The reason.
Yeah, you were the whole antagonist of the experience.
Yeah.
It was me. I just forgot how stacksy that deck is. But I think I mentioned this on the Chicago episode, but the funniest thing about that was I was talking about it with Mike while we were going to the airport again, and he was like, "I can't believe you did that, dude." And I was like, "Well, what would you have done?" And I explained the opening hand. And I was like, "It's a turn 1 Sphere of Resistance." And I explained it. And you were like, "Well, you could do Magda." And I was like, "No, I couldn't because I didn't have the colored resource or whatever." And you were like, "Yeah, it was the turn 1 Sphere of Resistance."
Mulligan. At that point,
just mulligan. Yeah, that's
No, you see, as much as I enjoy giving Sam shit, and I want to hold this over him forever, I do not want to decide. But here's the thing. People need that resistance. We need to be hardened because people are going to do far worse to me if I play more cEDH.
It's true.
Right? They're going to do way worse. Do I want to get mad at them or do I want to get mad at Sam?
From what it sounds like, that may have actually been the right way to introduce you as well, because here's your challenge. here's the shit to deal with. Spear of Resistance on turn 1.
And look, here we are. Now we're turning salt into content as opposed to just pure salt. So.
Exactly. Oh man. Well, that was fantastic. You pass. We will not turn off your microphone.
nice.
Should we get into it, guys?
Let's head into the mine.
Let's hit some stories.
Sweet.
Get down that shaft.
So we got some Tony.
That was
right
fine.
in front of the guest.
Sam, that's a word. What's wrong? Yeah, that's fine.
Tony says a lot of words that we have problems with. that cannot be an argument you use, Mike.
It's fine. It's fine. Show your whole ass. It's good.
Well, that's why we're audio only, so we can't show our whole ass. Yeah, so I got some salty stories here. We're going to be talking about salt. So let's dive in.
Get after it.
Tony.
What? But Sam,
What was wrong with that?
Yes, Mike?
Shit, Sam, what's salt? Fuck.
Tony.
I was like, what did I say? It was
been
fine.
so long. It's been so long.
Threw him off the game.
Tony's on this streak where every single time we have a guest, he forgets. He just gets like lost. He gets lost.
Just
in it.
lost in the sauce,
He's
baby. I
just
don't know what to
staring
tell you.
into CovertGoBlue's eyes.
Just staring the fucking blue
Yes,
in his
staring into
shirt,
those
his
baby
background,
blues.
everything.
Like,
Bullshit.
yeah, who can
I'm
blame
mad
him?
about it. I'm not happy.
Mesmerized.
Like a bull with a matador with the red thing. You
That's
know?
the blue.
Except
Blue is the color that Tony sees for rage.
Yeah.
Deliver the line, Tony.
Yeah, say the line part. Well, thanks, Tony. That was a great question, even if we had to kind of like pull it out of you, but
fine.
it's still
We got
really,
there.
really good. So professional. Well, salt is frustration in the game, as we like to say. It's really an umbrella term. Salt is everything from the little grains of salt, which might be, you're sitting down for a game of Commander, maybe your opponent's being a little bit rude, but the gameplay is mostly fine. But you just can't really relax. It's not as fun as it could be. That might be a little bit of salt. The big grains of salt, or as that shaker starts to fill up, could be people getting angry, yelling, throwing things, kicking deck boxes, threatening violence, ripping cards in half. We get a lot of different types of salt here in the mine, and that is when the shaker is full, it's overflowing, and salt is just getting all over everybody at the LGS. We talk about all the different types of salt on this show so we can learn from it and hopefully not be salty in a future game. It's really an educational podcast,
I've learned a lot. I really have learned so much about myself to come to this place where now I'm just one with my salt, and I have you guys to thank.
One with the salt. Well, I got some salty stories here. Should we dive on in?
Fuck yeah.
Let's
do it.
Let's do it. So this first one comes to us from the EDH subreddit, and it comes to us from our friend Silvawuff. So if you guys see Silvawuff around the subreddits, give him an upvote. You know the drill. Spread that goodwill. And the post is titled, "Had a weird experience tonight at my LGS."
That's so
This could go in a lot of directions.
Tonight. This is
I like the
this is
openness of
typed up
this.
fresh off the presses too.
It is fresh,
we're
yeah.
An unadulterated look.
It's a
at
dense
this.
one too, so buckle in.
Hell yeah.
And the story goes, I'm a returning player and relatively new to this format. I've been playing since, counting on my fingers, Weatherlight. I haven't invested much in EDH decks since I've been standard forever, much like CGB here.
I got your back.
So I bought some Precons along with some work buddies, and we've been meeting weekly at our LGS. It's been great for me. I've been desperate to socialize with others more, and it's been a good way to do it. We've got a baby pod going, and a lot of the veterans at the shop have been very supportive of us and have been jumping in to play with us from time to time. It's turned into a weekly thing, which is very nice. We've kept our group pretty open to anyone who wants to jump in, and it was a great experience. Until tonight. We were setting up to play our first round of the night, and a guy came into the shop and was pretty adamant on wanting to play with us. We were fine with this. We were also clear that we were returning / new players to the format, playing Precons that weren't really competitive, just for fun. He said, sure, I have a deck that should be fine for that. It was a Sauron whatever deck, Lortor set cards. Neat. Okay. We've played with some others that have had decks like this. Several rounds into the game, he starts pressuring us to do damage to each other so he could play a card that he had face down that required someone to take 7 damage to play it. I think that's the red hideaway.
The hideaway,
land.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He kept pressuring us, and we weren't quite ready to start swinging with anything. It was getting kind of annoying. Finally, I said, just do whatever damage to me. I won't block. This started some kind of interaction cascade that required him to start some kind of looping combo. At some point, he was stealing our creatures and creating copies of them. Whatever he had decked out was clearly very nasty competitive level. He kept pushing interaction after interaction. 5 minutes pass, 10, 15, 25, more than 25 minutes for the turn. He kept going, clearly delighted in whatever he was doing. I looked to my friends and to him, and we said to him, hey, it's clear you have some kind of win condition combo going. Can you just tell us where you're swinging with or pass? But he wasn't having it. He was so lost in his wombo combo, he was not seeing that we were clearly all getting tired of sitting him watching spin his cards around. We all decided to scoop. Then he got mad. We told him, hey, we just sat here for nearly half an hour watching you take a turn. It's not very fun, and you're really not listening to us. He angrily grabbed his cards and stormed off. We took a minute to process what the hell just happened and decided to play another game that turned out to be pretty fun. But the interaction with him had soured the evening for us. It felt like ending a bad date. It felt like we failed to hold the vibe that got us all there in the first place, and we weren't given much of a choice since communication wasn't happening with him. I don't think we were in the wrong. I think my point here is please don't be that guy. There's more to this game than winning, and I think being respectful to the time and enjoyment of other players is the real win condition that players should strive for. I think it's important to take a step back and place value in the fun of the game itself over winning at the cost of others' enjoyment. I'm sure many of us have been there. Anyways, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Wow.
I can't imagine sitting there for 30 minutes. Like, I feel like after 3 minutes, I'm bored of like somebody like just like twiddling. So if they actually like that was a lot of patience from the people that were sitting there. I'm surprised it took them that long to concede. Like,
yeah.
Also, what the fuck game actions was he taking?
Yeah. How do we even start to recreate this? A Spine Rock Knoll had a hideaway card.
Yeah.
That's what we know. And Sauron something with Lord of the Rings cards.
Yes. Some kind of Sauron card. Who even knows which one it is? Oh, Sauron the Lidless Eye, I believe. Sauron the Lidless Eye costs 3, a black and a red. When Sauron Lidless Eye enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature an opponent controls until end of turn. Untap and it gains haste. And we know that people were getting their creatures stolen in the story.
Yeah.
And then it has 1, a black and a red. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. And each opponent loses 2 life. And it's a 4/4.
It can't be that one because it has
you could
the
win
win
with that?
condition
Yeah.
on the card.
Stapled to the card.
I bet it was the Dark Lord one, the one that when the ring tempts you, you pitch your hand and draw 4 cards. Because that's prime real estate for just churning and not actually accomplishing anything, but like managing to sneak in little tempt triggers and then drawing 4 more cards and then going for that over and over again, but not actually like accomplishing anything besides going through your deck.
That's
Especially
a really
with
good point.
the temp mechanic, because it does fuck all.
True.
So, like, but you got to talk about it every time. It's like, I'm tempted again, so I'll make this my my ring bearer now. Like,
Tempt is one of those mechanics that should have been in an alchemy set, is my
Tempted to
belief.
slap you in the face for bringing it up again. That's how I feel.
now that is the salt we need here. This is welcomed in the mine.
Yeah, this is a weird one because I feel like at a certain point you're just gold fishing, right? Like this guy could have just sat alone at a table and maybe been like, "Hey, come watch me goldfish this deck. It's going to be really, really cool." You know?
Yeah.
30 minutes is a very, very long time to watch someone take their turn, and I feel like part of sitting through that is the fact that this is like a very new pod. You know, like Tony, you said you know. 3 minutes, you'd be like, what the hell is even happening here? But I feel like if you're a newer player and you're new to the game scene and you're new to the LGS, you're probably not comfortable enough like making that kind of comment and being like, what the fuck are you
but
doing?
also, maybe you just think something cool might happen.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Maybe they're going to do something.
Yeah. We were like, oh, wow, that's a neat interaction. Oh, it's still going. Oh, it's still going. No, we're gonna. Okay, you're still going. Okay.
You're still going, and somehow we're still in the same board state.
Yeah, are you going to attack anytime soon?
I have another theory about this because I think there's at least somewhat of a chance I've been our main character before in my own way. So people getting into Commander, right, come from very different like experience levels. The person who sent this in, you know, started in Weatherlight and played Standard and then got into Commander way later, and all the cards are different. And it sounds like he's also working on this with some friends who are at a similar experience level. So you might hear, hey, you know, some guys who are kind of new to Commander come in and they play over here at such and such a time. So you come in and it's like, okay, I want to get into Commander too. But maybe this is somebody who was grinding GPs like 3 weeks ago and they just, you know what I mean? And they just haven't played multiplayer formats. Because I think like I've kind of been that guy. When I got into Commander, I was lucky it was with a really chill group, but I definitely showed up. Like at the time, Yorion was like my favorite card on MTG Arena, played it all the time. Have you played a Yorion Blink deck in EDH in casual Commander?
Dude, blink at all.
Oh my God, every end step. I've got like 15 leaves the battlefield and enters the battlefield brings to resolve on every single player's end step. And I'm not kidding. 3 of the people during the game that I was playing with this got up and went outside to smoke. Like, just let me know. And when they left, I said to the only guy who stayed there, I'm like, when I come back, just say you killed me. And I just picked up my cards. I didn't want to finish. But
that's
at that point.
That's the thing too. There is a level of self-awareness of like how much you're monopolizing the time too, right? And like you were able to have that. That's a very different thing than this.
Yeah, you had it once they left, but you know.
I got a picture when they went to smoke. I was like, oh, what time is it? Oh my God. I was having so much fun blinking my Sky Noodle. Holy
I do think that one of the things in this story that sounds really painful is it sounds like they did kind of say it to them. They did like express, hey, these are taking long. Like, can you do some stuff? I almost wonder if it's the opposite of this person being a very enfranchised, experienced player. And instead, like, they came to play with the noob table who has actually all been playing for a decade. They have the Dark Lord and they don't know what any of their cards do. So they draw 4 cards. They have to read 4 cards and then decide what game action to take. Like,
Yeah.
It could be that world.
Could be.
But at the same time, not listening to other players that are saying like, look, you're taking up too much of the time. You got to do something. That's something someone needs to figure out rapidly. Like, you're not going to continue having fun games in Commander if you can't figure out some level of like balancing. Like the original poster here said, like the fun of the table. It's actually a pretty heads up point of view for this very standard based player to come in and be like, I think we should focus on the fun part. It's like, that's a nice take. Okay.
Most standard players would not see that. I agree.
Yeah, like they're gonna be like, well, but he was doing a good line though, so it's okay.
I want to know what you guys think of bullying someone into triggering the spine rock null, because that to me is like another smoking gun here.
Yes.
Like someone is here to play with their food. Like if it's the Sauron we think it is, that attacks for 7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sauron does attack for 7. That's so. Why aren't they not triggering it?
Well, I think because people were maybe blocking, and then they were like, I chose not to block, and that's when it triggered. But I agree, and I think that is the smoking gun for the fact that this person came in with bad intent. Coming in and insisting that you wanted to play with the new players, I think is also kind of telling too.
Yeah.
But the bullying to trigger the spine rock null, if someone at my table is doing that, I know to do everything in my power to never let that trigger.
Yeah, that's when you search up your land destruction right there. Grab your strip mine and deal with that.
Yeah, get your ghost quarter out.
Oh yeah, I'll be chump blocking before letting you have that. If you're gonna try to pressure me, I will go down without. I will concede with that trigger, like with the no blocks on the stack. If you finally get a punch at me, if you're pressuring me about it, hell no, you got to earn it. Nobody talks me into giving you that.
I mean, it just means there's something actually real under it, you know. Like usually when I have a spine rock null, I've got like something silly, and I'm like, nice, and then like, you know, it triggers, and you're like, you activated my trap card, and you're not talking to people about it. You're hoping in your little silent corner that it happens, so you get to like fucking put like a meteor golem out or something stupid, like, you know,
meteor golem's
something
good,
actually
dude.
useful. It's
Yeah,
barely useful. You blow up
like
a
the
permanent.
best hit I would have ever had off a spine rock null.
Yeah, 7 mana. That's value.
I usually just put like a land under it, but for them playing Grenzo, and then I stick all the other ones under my deck in the order I want.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's like the worst trade deal. Like I propose a trade deal. You take 7 damage, and I get to cast a spell for free, but also I'll stop asking you to do this? Like how many turns was this person just asking to wear down on, you know, the resistance of these three poor players that were just trying to like play with the precons and have a good time, you know?
And then sequence it into an endless turn, non-deterministic combo. Like
truly,
come on, guys.
truly embodying the villainous style of Sauron in that moment, you know?
Maybe it was for the flavor then. Maybe we're just missing. Really, they were doing it for flavor. Who knows?
Method acting.
What do we think about the salt rating on this one?
It's high for me, man. If I was one of these new players and someone came in and subjected me to that, it's like they said, it's like a bad date. Like it just kind of ruins your night. You still try to have an evening, but sometimes you just want to go home and go to bed and restart the next
over
day.
at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, really bad like social interactions like that, especially with people you don't necessarily know in a public place like a game store. It just kind of sits with you.
Yeah.
Like, you play it over and over again, and that's how it ends up on Reddit probably, and as a form of like internet therapy, right?
Yep.
The thing, I just don't feel like we have enough information about this mysterious Sauron character because we don't know what the combo was, and we don't know how. Like, that's the other thing. This person, the Sauron player, got salty at the end.
Yes, got salty
because they conceded.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about that. They're like, oh, so you guys don't even want to play Magic? You don't even want to watch me play? Fine. I actually, you don't scoop, I scoop.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Super high.
Yeah. You guys aren't even going to let me win in the specific particular way that I want to win.
That I also won't tell you what it is.
Yeah. I won't just show it to you
because I'm not quite sure what it is.
Because you're digging for it. Yeah, I totally agree with what you said, CGB. Like, to me, I would rather play in like an uncomfortable stacks game where like my deck is locked out. I'd rather play in a stacks game where the vibes are good and people are joking and it's fun than play in a game where I'm winning, but the social energy is weird. You know, like bad social stuff sticks with me way more than like an actual bad game will.
Yeah. For me, this is super high salt just because we've talked about this. Like, I'm super protective of these new players. If there's anyone out there that I want to like actively aim for interesting, fun games for Commander, it's people that are just starting to get into it. So them being a target is really sad.
Yeah.
And the saddest part is this after effect of like, not even just the experience, but walking away asking, is this normal? For new players to have to be asking, is this bad experience a normal experience? It's terrible. It's such a bad sign because some people won't ask and they'll just assume it's normal. And then they're not interested in the format anymore. They're not interested sometimes even in the game. So this makes me salty pretty heavily.
Agreed.
Well,
how about another one that's less bad?
Yeah.
Well, I cannot.
I'm sure you
that.
have some good stuff cooked up for us. I'm sure.
That was a new like model for like the ideal experience ruiner of the gathering. Like they made the poster. True Sauron.
So we actually have something of a theme this night. I didn't really plan on this, but these are all LGS stories. So I got another one here, and this one is a submission that we got on our website, our lovely website, howlingsaltmine.com or thehowlingsaltmine.com. We have a place where you can submit your salty stories on there. And this one comes to us from Thad, and the post is titled LGS Gaming is a Salty Life. And this one goes, "What's up, you crusty dicklings?
That's why I'm here, to get called one of that. Yeah, let's go."
Love that so
I won't
much.
claim to have been listening since day one like some other liars here, but I did start on episode...
I love that.
But I did start on episode 6 and have been listening every Thursday ever since. I appreciate the work y'all put in to extract some joy and levity from the salt that comes with this game that we all love. I appreciate that. Thanks, Thad. My short and salty story is from a 3-man game at my LGS. Okay, so you're already starting off
strong.
Jeez, come on.
I don't remember what I was playing or the third player. Get fucked, third player.
Now we're fucking third players?
At this point, we might as well play standard if we've just got the two.
In fact, let's go back to the last story. Get fucked everyone but me. All to the future.
Players 2, 3, and 4. But player 2 was on a Kozilek colorless Eldrazi ramp deck.
Oof.
Player 3 was clearly a newer player, only had the one deck, and just seemed a little timid and nervous. When I sat down to ask power levels, Kozilek said something like, I don't know, I think about mid-power. This deck can take a while to get started. Fast forward to turn 5, he casts a Forsaken Monument, a mana rock, and ships the turn. At this point, he announces going to 42 life off of his Monument trigger, as he hasn't taken any damage yet. I assumed this meant that he was going to put out a dice or some other indication of his life total, having forgotten it at the beginning of the game. He did not. He takes his next turn, casting a few more spells, gaining a few more life, but still no life total indication.
Oh.
The turn passes around to me, and I ask him for his life total. He spits out a number, and I reply, oh, okay, didn't see it anywhere, so I wasn't sure. And he responds, I've been announcing it each time, man. He had not been doing that.
Good start.
We could stop here and go on a rant, but please do continue. I'm taking notes.
I swing in for some chip damage and ask if he can make his life more obvious on the board state. He repeats, I'm telling you guys what it is each turn, man. Relax. We proceed to lose in typical Eldrazi beat fashion a turn or two later. I still don't know what his life total was. To be fair, it wouldn't have really mattered probably, but it got my salt up that this guy didn't feel it necessary to provide the other players with his life total. Keep up the great work, guys.
Ugh.
Guys, I think this guy's in the right. He was saying it out loud,
Yeah,
like
every
that's
time.
really
Every time. Relax.
I mean, Thad, it's really on you if you didn't have your pen and paper on the side tracking everyone's life totals, which is what real pro Magic players do.
fucking good.
True. I've seen a number of judge disputes on a life total before. Like, not that you're doing that at a casual Commander game, but like, let's address the elephant in the room. You're responsible for your life total being public information and showing it to everybody, and accurately tracking it, dare I say, and not just forgetting shit here and there and then saying a number.
Bro, chill. He said he was saying it out loud. What's going on?
So in the days before all these companies and corporate money made little life counters and apps for phones, before people had phones, I played back in the day where it was pretty normal to try to remember your life total.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And back then, say when I was in the 8th grade trying to assert mental dominance over my fellow 8th graders, if somebody comes at me questioning what you're not like showing me your life total. Yeah, I announce it every time, man.
Yeah.
Get over it.
I'll tell you whenever you want to know.
Keep up.
Whenever you want to know, I'll tell you.
I only have like 180 pages in the spiral notebook. I can't be using one on this game. It's not worth it, man. And I will not have my intelligence and integrity questioned by the likes of you. Somewhere along my journey, it was probably around the time I lost a really tough judge call because I didn't have my life total written down on paper. I learned to get over that. And And then I also learned to track the opponents as well. And on top of that, I learned that you make little notes whenever a life total changes. That's like competitive stuff. But God, in Commander, have you guys played a game without a life total tracker?
No, it's so hard. And you also have, not only do you have your life totals, you have commander damage that needs to be tracked. Like there's so many things that need to be tracked in a game of Commander.
I've seen it without like one of the phone trackers with people using actual pen and paper. I have seen that, and I've seen people on the more casual side use like dice too, like some other representation. But there's just way too much information in a game of Commander to have 4 additional numbers, 2-digit numbers, potentially big digit numbers, like 4 additional things that you need to try and remember that are incrementing and going up and down all the time. Like
even when it's on the fucking table, I'm like, what the fuck is it? Like when it's smack dab in the middle of the table and I can see it at any point, I'm like, what's your life total? What's happening right now? Like,
whose turn is it?
Like literally.
Especially with Forsaken Monument. Like that card in an Eldrazi deck is like every spell you play is more life.
Yeah.
So honestly, tracking it is probably better for the Kozilek player because I know I've definitely forgotten to gain the life plenty of time.
Yeah.
My goodness, I would never remember it all. Like impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you ever play like an Aether Flux Reservoir deck or something like that, like you need to have a life tracker to do that because you're gaining so much life. Like I used to have, for a very short minute, I had a Keurig Son of Yawgmoth combo deck that had an Aetherflux Reservoir in it. And in that deck, you're just going up life, you're going down life. Like it's constantly like rubber banding back and forth with like high life, low life, constantly spending it. There's a certain point where it just gets so complicated. There's no way I expect anyone to remember it. And if I don't have something to help me count it, I'll probably make a mistake piloting my own deck, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Devil's advocate time. You're aware that you have insane Eldrazi beats in your hand. You're about to decimate the table, and there's just two opponents that are doing completely irrelevant things, and your life total has only gone up. Do you care about your life total anymore?
I think the proper move in that case isn't to be like, I'm announcing it every time. It's to be, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just smile at him. Really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's really it. I feel like there might be a scenario where this kind of surly Kozilek player could better represent that, could better say like, hey, you know I'm gaining some life here, but I'm probably going to win next turn. So just so you guys know, it doesn't really matter that much. But to be like, hey, buddy, fucking relax is a ridiculous way to respond to the most simple request, which is like, hey, you got a couple spare die that you can just put down on the table? Like, no, I refuse. And also you need to calm down.
I feel like that's the thing. There's just always something, there's always something you can use to represent your life total. It's like pretty rare that nobody has extra dice.
Yeah.
Nobody has a phone. Like there's 4 fucking people. Somebody's got shit because we're all addicts for this craft. So everybody's got like matching dice, matching tokens, matching this, that, the other thing. There's usually a way to track it. That's like what bothers me. But I hear what you guys are saying.
Yeah, they're at a game store. Like, what's a dice?
Oh yeah, go fucking buy a couple
How
dice
much for 2 dice, 2 D20s. Like, what is that going to cost you? 3, because you're gaining so much life.
Yeah.
Nah, the big coz here, big cozy just wants to come in there and be like, I don't need colors, I don't need a life total. I'm gonna smash you guys, and I'm gonna roll out of here.
I'm devoid of information for you.
Now, if the Kozilek player had no sleeves and no playmat and just walked in with like the deck in the pocket of his cargo shorts, okay, I respect it. You're living the life of like an ascetic in the forest. You're like a traveling monk now. You have no worldly possessions.
At that point, just use the rubber band that you wrapped the deck in to sort of sketch out the lines of the number that you want. I will say, I do think there is something about the approach for initially trying to get the life counter that's sort of described in this story. And it sounds a little more passive than I think a lot of us would have done as an approach. Like, the first question is, what's your life total? And then the first thing to sprinkle on top to maybe try and get it is, oh, I just didn't see it anywhere. It's like, that is a very different approach from, hey, could you use some die or some dice to represent your life or something? I know they go there eventually, but I wonder if like the indirect kind of passive approach first actually hindered the cause in this case. It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like this person was just dead set on kind of being a shithead anyway and just like not having a life total anywhere. But sometimes the passive approach on it rubs people in the wrong way instead of just saying like, hey, I'd like if you could represent your life total somewhere.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Eldrazi, man. I see you have a Forsaken Monument there, and you're going to gain so much life. Would you do the table the great kindness of just representing that in some clear way? Because it's really awkward to ask you.
Yeah.
That's the way. You guys heard it here first.
Thank you.
Fucking write that shit down.
Just
Next
just
time you're
play
your LGS
that.
and this comes up, fucking
Just
play
play
that
that
recording.
clip.
Play
Just
that
play that
sound
clip.
bite. Oh man, when I was in college, we used to just keep track of life on everything. Like if you had a ballpoint pen, you could keep track of life
On everything.
on anything. Like
On anything.
we
You were probably drawn on the walls and the floor of
We
your
were.
apartment, though.
we literally were. We had like a coffee table, and I wish, now that Magic is like my career, I wish that I had that coffee table because when we moved out, it was just covered in life totals. It was covered in us tracking life totals. We'd like clear off a little space and put our first initials and put 20 life and just do it with a ballpoint pen right on the table. And I wish I had that still. It'd be so great.
I remember this game. It was 1-to-1. You can see it right here on the table.
Yeah. Oh man, he went from 15 to 10 life. That's when I hit him with a hasted demigod of revenge. Oh, that was so good. And then he went to 5. I must have flinged it. Oh man.
What do we think about the salt rating on this one?
This is a high one for me. This is probably it doesn't seem like it at surface level. This is probably saltier for me than that first one because this goes so squarely in that awkward social interaction thing where like even though the game ended quickly, I would be thinking about this interaction for like multiple weeks after. This is the kind of thing that like when you're alone in your house making breakfast or something, you're like you're replaying it and saying what you should have said in the moment, and being like, well, I think that you actually need to pull something out, so maybe you relax, and like you're walking through that conversation again, and it's just this bugs me, man. Like I'm a big proponent of clean board states, and I think it's everybody's responsibility to have the information available, and it's really not a big ask.
Yeah. I think the easier thing, almost to Mike's point earlier, would have been to just from the get-go be like, yo, can you just represent it with something? Can you just represent your life total?
Whoa, relax, Tony, relax. I've been saying it.
Yeah, he's been saying it. This is what the fourth person would have said for sure.
Another Eldrazi player. We don't need no stinking life totals, dude. You kidding me?
I just keep thinking about the fact that CGB was like, yeah, this is how I was like in 8th grade. I just think that's so accurate. Like this person didn't quite get past that. Like,
did we miss a little detail in the story of maybe did this person look a little 8th grade? Did we not? Could have thrown that out.
Did you see their high school ID or were they?
They are showing their very high intellect by not having to write things down. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that's a good one.
Cool. Well, shall we delve just
Another
teensy bit deeper?
Let's delve deeper. We have our third story here, and this one comes to us from one of our patrons. This one comes to us from our patron, Christian, and the post is titled Precon Fury. And this is a bit of a long one, so let's all buckle into the minecart here.
Buckled.
And the story goes, first of all, thank you. Foreman, Salty Boys, Dicklings. This podcast,
2 dicklings in one episode. Let's fucking
2 for
get
3,
after
man.
it.
It really is like being in the 8th grade, getting these names. Oh my goodness, I'm loving it.
This podcast has been a wonderful deposit to excavate and is amazingly relatable. I travel for work and with a lot of time for podcasts, so HSM is nice to look forward to. It has definitely helped me and my friends pay closer attention to and learn how to savor the inevitable salt, but also how we handle it in and out of our pod. I've been listening since episode 50 or so, quickly caught up, and have been anticipating it weekly. I finally signed up for the Patreon, and I can't believe I missed out on the extra salt and stray grains for so long. My bad. Binging now. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you for the plug.
The $20 Venmo that I promised you for plugging the Patreon is on its way.
Yeah.
Tony's not the only paid actor here.
Not even going to confirm those last 4 digits. We're just sending it to...
To set the record straight, Tony's not a paid actor. He's just an actor.
Yeah, we don't pay Tony.
Okay.
And the story continues. First time at the LGS, March of Machines just came out, and being a small LGS, they only had 1 of each Precon. 2 out of the 5 were already gone.
A small fucking...
That's very small.
like small
That's not a
LGS.
good allocation.
Broom closet LGS.
That's like a dude ordered the set of them and then sold them all off.
I'm picturing one of those like tiniest possible abandoned spaces in the mall, and somebody just walks in and be like, he opens one case of the 4 Commander decks, is like, open for business.
He's just a squatter in a vacant space. 2 out of the 5 were already gone. Wow, it's a big day for business at the LGS.
Yeah. Flying off the shelves.
I lucked out and picked the Esper Cavalry Charge deck with Sidar Jabari, the Eminence Commander, that was still left. 2 guys at the table are finishing up a game, and asked if I wanted to join them, noticing my Precon purchase. They had 2 of the other March of the Machine Precons. A 3-person game is never my first choice, but fuck 4th player anyways, right?
Hell yeah.
With a new deck, all Precons, friendly people, my day off. Okay, let's play. I won't church this one up. We know who's salty. I played the Esper Knights Precon. Someone will call Good Sport played the Naya Call for Backup Counters Precon, and someone will call Toddler played the Jeskai Divine Convocation deck, which is the Convoke Precon.
I wonder where this is going.
Yeah, this is very curious names. I do wonder.
Yeah.
If these are maybe hints as to. Anywho.
Yeah, some
The
foreshadowing.
Convoke Precon is a big hint if you've ever played that.
True. Isn't that one of the plane chase ones?
Yeah, this was the set where every Precon had like 2 or 3 plane chase cards in it.
God, you're right.
I remember because we were at MTG Summit last year doing a Play with Creators Precon event, and I got the Call for Backup Precon.
Yep.
And I was at a point where I was top decking, and man, nothing feels worse in Magic when you top deck a plane chase card and you're not playing plane chase.
Yep. Roll the plan or die.
Yeah. Roll the planar die, and if you get chaos, you could do something. I was like, cool, I'll just discard this right now. The story continues. I deduced Toddler won the last game since he was boasting about his deck's previous performance as we shuffled. We can all now agree the Eminence Commander I was playing in this game had an odd power advantage within the printed precons released together.
Yeah.
And the table was open about it and aware after reading Sidar. It quickly became a 2v1, but eventually I valued the other decks down for a win. Good Sport put up a respectable fight but got knocked out first. Once I knocked Toddler out to close the game, he hastily scooped up his board state at the second he knew he lost, and in a fury, saying fuck Convoke and fuck Eminence, and crammed his deck back in the cardboard Precon deck box, held it up, and said, "Who wants this shit?"
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Given that there's only 5 products available for sale, I'm sure you can return it.
The store is about to go up another 50% in their inventory again.
That's a pretty crazy thing to give away for free if there's only 5 in the whole store. Okay, continuing. His friend, Good Sport, must be used to these kinds of outbursts because he said nothing and didn't react to what I considered an odd question. I spoke up and said, "What? The deck? You don't want the deck?" Kind of not believing him, but also kind of curious. Toddler responds, "Yeah, I picked the wrong one. Like fucking Gary Oak from Pokemon after you beat his starter." I said with a little sarcasm, "I won't just take it, but I'll give you $20 for it." Deal done, sleeves and all. He went straight to the counter. And bought the Orzhov Bramaz Growing Threat Precon and new sleeves.
Oh, he'll be back.
I know that one also sucks. I couldn't believe it. I mentioned to him I'm down for another game with this new Precon, and he said, "No way, not against that Eminence shit again." Dude, I could have played the shit deck I just scored off your impulsive ass. Kind of affronted, I thanked them for the game, packed up my stuff, and on the way out, the owner was out front smoking a cigarette. No context, he says, "So how'd it go?" He must have noticed my confusion during the game and gives me a hilarious confirmation of the incident, saying, "I can't believe you made it through a full game with those 2. Apparently, Toddler is a known factor at this LGS, and Good Sport is getting tied into the bullshit. I don't know. Am I a dickhead for taking advantage of the situation with the $20 deck and sleeves? He's an adult with his own money and enough superfluous income to buy 2 decks and 2 sets of sleeves on a whim. But yeah, TLDR, kick someone's ass so hard they abandoned the deck / gave it to me, playing for pinks, YOLO randos, pub stomping with a Precon.
Yeah, the only mistake you made was paying them for it. You beat them, so you should just get the deck. That's how
it
should
was
work,
antied.
right?
It was antied.
It was anti. Oh man. This is so ridiculous.
This story is amazing. This is one of those, like the other two were kind of like cautionary at your LGS things that could happen tales. This is like manna from heaven. This is finding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Yeah. This is salting them off so hard that you get their deck for could have been free $20.
Yeah.
And new sleeves and brand new sleeves on the deck, which I think is wild too.
Those are not cheap. Was it double sleeved? We have to know.
Were they katanas or were they dragon shields? Who knows?
Important stuff. It's important stuff.
This is just such a wild story, man. I don't think I've ever we've had games where their deck does so poorly that they don't want to play it again for that night, or they're like, okay, I got to bring this home. I got to tweak it. I've never had someone be like, I picked the wrong one. And you know,
remember, like, who wants it? Like, this deck was so bad that I'm gonna give it away right now.
You're in a bad place when you start relating yourself to Gary Oak. That's not where you want to be.
I do kind of like that random side.
Smell you later, nerds.
This Convoke deck is one of the only ones I can kind of support this approach. It's not like you can get more good Convoke cards to make sure they're all in there.
Yeah.
It has all the Convoke cards it can play, and it's still ass. I don't know if you guys had the great pleasure of playing that specific deck.
I did, actually.
No, I haven't played it, but I looked through the list, and it's very wild to have a Convoke list that's not in green, where like most of the Convoke cards live. It's a very strange deck for sure.
I think it's one of those that might just need to be printed in like 5 years from now. Like when they have like 2 more sets where they reintroduce Convoke, because they don't do it very often. But when we did, like we got some in March of the Machine, there was some nice new Convoke stuff. Like here and there, they're adding a little bit. It's getting just that incremental support, but it wasn't there right now when they printed this deck.
Yeah, it might even be okay now. Like Convoke is a serious best of one standard problem in current Magic, for sure. Like they're attacking for like 19 on turn 3. In standard.
Oh, seriously?
With what? What's the cheese on that?
Oh, it's a Knight Errant of Eos and this red card called Gleeful Demolition. This is 1 and a red for a sorcery that destroys target artifact. If you controlled that artifact, you make 3/1/1 goblins. So it's 1 mana for 3 bodies if you have an artifact. Now there's Novice Inspector, there's Voldarian Epicure. These both are 1 mana, 1/1 or 1 power creatures that come in and make an artifact, a clue or a blood. So you're on turn 2, nuking your own artifact, making 3/1/1s. So if you played a 1/1 the turn before, you have 5 creatures on board. Now you can convoke the 5 mana Knight Errant of Eos that digs through your deck 6 cards and gets you Embodying Recruiter, which you cast the next turn with your 3 lands and attack for like 18 damage, 19 damage, something like that. On turn 3.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's what I'm talking about. Good, man.
It's very common in best of 1 right now. It's a tier 1 deck. So I don't know. Convoke now is like in another format, just salting people off in a different way. So what a mechanic.
So you'll have to let us know if anybody just, like throws a deck out because it couldn't beat that deck and then like is giving it away.
Yeah. Is there a way to give away a deck on Arena CGB?
I am glad you asked, because I don't know what it says about me that I'm once again relating to the main, subject of the story here. But in Arena terms, I have basically done what they did in a different context many times, which is I just crafted something with like 12 rares, 5 mythics, and I go out and I play it once on day 1 of the new format, and I'm all excited to try it. And very first game, here comes whatever the new aggro deck is. I'm dead on turn 4.
Yep.
Okay. Next game, same matchup, dead on turn 4. Guys, I'm sure I just needed to work the kinks out. Next game, same matchup. Cat is keck Wing at me now, whatever those kids do in that Twitch chat. And delete, never to be played again. I would give it away that moment if I could.
Go check the stats on win percentage and grab the highest aggro.
Yep, we're done with it. Forget innovation, forget new mechanics, and that's even worse than giving it away. I like to give away commander decks and cards I don't use anymore because somebody gets to play with them. On Arena, I just incinerated money. in front of the world and
Into
looked
the meat
bad
grinder.
and lost while doing it.
Oh man, that's so good. So I've actually experienced something like this in real life, actually kind of recently. I think you might have been there, Mike. So this was maybe like a few months ago at the LGS that we all love to gather at in New England, which is TJ's Cafe in Milford, Mass.
Nice.
And we were there, and my friend Emmett was there. He had showed up that day. We were there with Mia and Beezy from the Nitpicking Nerds, and we were all like talking a lot about playing budget decks, like these budget builds and stuff like that. And Mia and Beezy are huge into building budget commander decks. There's a pot of people next to me playing budget games, and I let Emmett borrow my budget Garuda deck. And he plays it and pilots it. It's fun. He has a great time. And he's like, you know what? I think I want a budget deck too. I'm going to like pick up a Precon and just play that because some other people were sleeving up Precons. And he's like, yeah, let's do a Precon game, man. This is going to be great. So he goes and he gets it might have been a March of the Machines Precon also.
Flavor.
I think it was the Nyali one.
That set of them was really just so garbage, except for Sidar.
So this was from All Will Be One. It's the Boros one with Nyali Sun's Vanguard. It's like the mercenary deck, so you're making like mercenary tokens and equipping, and the commander's cool. Gives all of your attacking token creatures double strike.
Oh, the Rebels, the four Mirrodin.
Rebels.
Yep, for
yeah.
Mirrodin.
Yeah, that one's actually good.
So he gets this deck, buys brand new sleeves, buys the brand new Precon, sits down and plays one game. And just like I look over at him and he's just miserable the whole game. He's like, this deck fucking sucks, man. So he had to leave earlier and he took off. And I noticed that he forgot the Precon. Like he left it behind. It's like, I'll grab it. I'll get it for him. And I get home and I text him and I'm like, hey man, you forgot your deck. He's like, no, I actually left it there. I don't want it. That deck sucks. So I have seen it. The salt wasn't quite there. Emmett's a pretty cool-headed guy, but he just did not even want to own the deck anymore. He was like, Andy in Toy Story, I don't want to play with you anymore, just dropping it right on the ground.
Damn.
This story is just fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. Known bad actors in an LGS are a bummer. For the store owner to be outside taking a smoke break because he knows what's going on inside, that's
Yeah.
that's sad.
He knows what's happening, doesn't even want to be a part of it. He's like, I'm just gonna rip my bud here and be a happy camper,
I honestly feel like some of the worst victims today have been the LGSs. Right?
Yeah.
Because like in the first story, like what are those guys going to do if they want to avoid that interaction again of that guy coming in and being like, I'm here to play with you guys and I'm going to kick your butt with Sauron. They're like, okay, we're going to go play at McDonald's or Applebee's or somebody's kitchen table, right?
Yeah.
Anywhere with 4 chairs.
Yeah, you just take people out of that potential ecosystem. Like it damages LGS to not manage salt. Effectively.
for sure.
And even more so in these really tiny LGSs. We were joking around about how small this one seems. And if you have one person who's a shithead and is attached at the hip to another player, regardless of how benign that other player is, they're dragging that jerk into pods with them. And that could be like a pretty big chunk of your player base in a small LGS. It might not be possible to avoid playing against that person. It might just be an inevitability.
It sounds like they're just buying a lot of product though, so you're not going to kick them out.
There you go. Propping up the 5 commander deck.
That's true. If he buys all 5,
somebody had to buy them.
They bought 3 out of the 5 Precons that day. Like business was booming that day.
Still can't believe there's only 5. Like that's got to be wrong.
I got the sense they all 3 had bought one, and then the guy bought a second one. So they bought 4 out of 5.
So those 2 bad actors bought 3, and then with our buddy here, the 4th one was purchased. Man, that poor 5th Precon, it's probably still sitting there this day,
Definitely the Gremlins. Definitely
the Gremlins. Yeah,
it's the Gremlins for sure. That deck was bad.
What do we think about the salt rating on this one?
Full overflowing shaker. I take my salt shaker, I throw it into the box, and I hold it up and I say, who wants this? This is like the highest possible salt. Like whenever you have someone being violent with their cards and just not giving a shit about them, like they've been broken to a point where they just don't care anymore. They would much rather jam their cards in a box and just not even see them ever again than play that stupid deck again.
I think broken is the right word. It seems like this person's broken.
It's a full shaker, but there's also a little sugar packet in the pocket of the person who got the $20 deck.
True.
You know what I mean? Because from now on, you've got a story of the time you beat somebody so bad that they unloaded their brand new sleeved up deck to you. Like it's almost like a moment of surrender. Like, I've been defeated so badly. You should take my grandfather's sword. I am not worthy of it.
Yeah, you put that deck on like the mantle at home and you're like, yep, I remember that day.
You're never taking that one apart. Even if it sucks, you're like, this was the spoils of war.
Oh man, that's so ridiculous. What a good story.
Well, is it that time of the week, Sam?
Ooh, Tony, let me check my watch. Yeah, I think it is that time of the week, Tony.
Hell yeah. But what time is it?
It's the time of the week that comes every week.
You know it, every week, baby.
It's the time of the week where we say, Mike.
Mike.
What's the salty card of the week?
The salty card of the week this week is...
Staxy Pod is taking way too long. Making a scoop is not a win con. Staxy, can't you see this game isn't fun for me? I know it might be wrong, but I should lead this Staxy Pod.
It's got it going on. Every pod has got it going on.
There is like a 2-minute long version of that I could have done. I figured I'd keep it tight. But that is obviously a cover of Stacy's Mom by Fountains of Wayne, requested by our patron, Captain Cross. Lyrics were provided by another patron, Accidental TPK, who just can't help himself. He loves to write the lyrics.
A patron collab.
Collab action going on. Love that.
Well, thanks, Sam. That was a lovely Staxy song of the week. And the salty card of the week is, you guys are not going to believe this, actually. You're never going to see this coming.
It's Rock Hydra.
It's Sphere of Resistance.
Oh, is it?
Oh my God.
Who would have thought?
Who'd have fucking thunk?
Okay. Okay. Cool. It's fine.
Sphere of Resistance. It's 2 generic mana for an artifact. All spells cost an additional 1 to play. That's it.
Wow.
Just 1 more.
So simple. So easy.
To the point.
Yeah, pretty much straightforward.
What do you think about that one, CGB?
I mean, it's just 1 mana. Like, how hard is it to pay the 1?
How bad could it be?
Exactly.
How bad could it be? Like, what could go wrong with a card like Sphere of Resistance? We all pay the 1 for Rhystic Study.
Yeah.
We all pay the 1 for Esper Sentinel.
Mm-hmm.
I even pay Smothering Tithe. Some people don't, but I do, because I'm a responsible commander player. So I feel like this card is just a do nothing in your deck, because obviously you just pay the 1. You run reasonable land counts in the 37 to 40 range. Any good, well-built Magic commander deck should, and you pay the 1 by hitting your land drops, right?
Yeah.
So easy, yeah. And you also have a couple turns to develop. Like, if it came down early for some crazy reason, if it came down really early, you'd have multiple turns to just play a land, and then, you hit your win con around turn 7 or 8. Like, it's super easy.
So easy. What do you think of it, Sam? Is it a salty card? Sam? Is it something you would play with your friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a salty card for sure. I think it's specifically salty when it comes down early in a cEDH game.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, like, truly in like casual EDH, I don't see this card get played at all. Like, I don't think it's getting dropped in any casual decks, because we're being a little tongue-in-cheek here, but like, 1 additional mana cost is just not that big of a deal. And even in cEDH, we are seeing like these effects drop off. Like, you don't see Thalia as much anymore. You don't see Thorn of Amethyst as much anymore, even though that used to be a more popular stacks archetype that people would play. It's just not something that comes up as much these days. It can be a pretty ideal stacks piece. It's a huge tempo play, and you stop a lot of Storm players. It can stop Underworld Breach. I like it. I don't see it much. I literally only see it in Mike's Magda deck. or in my opening hand at MagicCon Chicago.
How about you, Tony? What do you think?
You know, I do only see this in cEDH. I agree with that statement. It does make me salty. Like, I think that it's one of the few cards in cEDH that makes me salty. Because part of what I like about cEDH usually is that it like everything's going faster. And so when these kinds of things come down, it's just like slowing everything down. And like to Sam's point, like things are still happening. It's just annoying. It's not like it's impacting the game. It's hard to say that it's not impacting the game, but I find it more annoying, almost even to track of. It's just like, everything just costs one more because you do a thing, you're like, fuck me, like I can't. Even though the 3 other spells I cast that turn, I paid the extra one for one reason or another. Or the 4th one, I'm like, I don't need to pay one right now, and then I do it, and I'm like, fuck me. Just kidding. How about you, Mike?
I mean, I'll say the line, I love cards with simple text that have a big impact. And this is that. Again, it's all spells cost an additional 1 to play. Like clean, specific, an interesting thing, an interesting effect to exist in the game. Kind of whack that it's at 2. It's symmetrical, it's got all these pieces to it. It's affecting everyone. I think the thing that's so crazy about it is just like people are really unused to like creature spells costing more mana. Like
yes,
so many of these other effects are like non-creature spells cost more mana. I think it's that moment that gets people a little going sometimes when they have to reach over and look at it and say, it's really everything. Like my Llanowar costs 2 mana now. That stuff kind of sucks, but it's good to exist. This kind of stuff has to exist out there for other people that are like, I want to play a million spells all for free. For the stupid Red Storm decks, someone's got to be able to play Sphere of Resistance into them.
But I mean, just play Damping Sphere. Like we don't. You know what Sphere of Resistance is? I just thought of this. It's forcing constructed players to play limited because all of your good rate stuff now costs 1 more, and it's all bad rate stuff. It's like you're playing all Gray Ogres and Hurloon Minotaurs. It's just throw in a Cursed Totem, and we can say we're playing limited. And as a known limited hater, I hate this.
I also really like what Tony was saying about forgetting about it. Like, I think this is the most annoying thing about Sphere of Resistance. Obviously, the tempo play is huge, and it can really impact like your opening hand and stuff like that. But the amount of times people misplay into effects like this, where they cast something and they don't have the additional mana, and they just have to put it back in their hand, I think that is like, it's just very disruptive to clean play, those types of effects, because they're very forgettable. Like you forget that they happen, and sometimes you get away with casting a spell without paying the extra 1, and then you have to rewind, and hopefully you can rewind at that point. And I think cards like this can lead to those annoying board states where people are doing a lot of takebacks.
Yeah, because it's also not ever usually just this, right? Like, it's not just that's dropped. Like usually the decks are running this, are running multiple other effects, and you're like, how the
it's
much
generally
does my spell
part of
cost
a
right
comprehensive strategy.
Usually there's a Torpor Orb the next.
Or a Tangle Wire,
perhaps.
Yeah,
Tangle Wire. That's what that the shit was.
what a shit time.
Tangle Wire. That was a good follow up.
The thing is, looking back on that game, the Sphere of Resistance was probably fine. The Tangle Wire was really the fucking mean thing, because at that point, that was the mean play, the Tangle Wire.
Yeah,
sorry,
but it taps Magda, so
I know I was getting value.
It's a combo.
The funny thing is, I sold Mike that Tangle Wire. That's my Tangle Wire.
That's right.
So that part is your fault.
That is my fault. I played against Mike's Magda deck, and I was like, dude, you should have Tangle Wire in this list. I fucking suggested that, so I'm to blame for that one.
Where does this sit on the list, Mike?
Well, thanks for asking, Tony. It is time, players, listener at home, everyone in the cart, get your guesses out and ready. If you have a pen and paper, we've been writing them.
This is top 300, Mike. Top 300 salty cards.
300 salty cards based on EDH Rec.
All
right, Tony, what do you think?
I think if we ever get sued, we're gonna start using that audio clip instead. But
I have good lawyers too.
37.
37.
I went pretty high on this. This type of effect, like you don't see it much, but like the crowd usually does not like these types of things. But so
True.
little risky. We'll see.
How about you, Sam?
I said 110.
110. And CGP.
Hey,
69. Nice.
69.
I hope he
Nice.
takes it at 69.
Nice.
That'd be great.
Unfortunately, Sam has taken it yet
Damn it.
again.
I'd say fortunately to that. I think that's pretty cool.
Tony was also sort of close. Tony was close in the sense that if you added 201,
It's that low?
it is
Oh my
238.
Dude.
Oh, wow. So I wasn't
Yeah.
even, I really
Wait, that
wasn't
is-
that close.
Yeah,
I went on
you
a
weren't much
technicality.
closer. Yeah, you went on.
What do you
being-
mean?
being
Look,
closest.
that's my number was 237. Like,
Yeah.
you just didn't hear the 2 or
Oh,
see it.
oh,
on
yeah, the
see
2
it.
cut
There it
out.
is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
the 2
it's
cut
now
out in
written
my
there.
audio. If you go back, like you could hear it.
Yeah, you just
For sure.
didn't hear it. Tony didn't write it and Tony didn't say it. But
Yeah,
if,
yeah,
if he
yeah.
had.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that's
two-
low.
Dang, that we have a responsibility now to spread the good word of Sphere of Resistance and get it up those rankings to
Oh my
where it
God.
rightfully belongs as an absolute piece of shit stacks card.
Yeah, time to bust out my new Sphere of Resistance deck where I run Thorn of Amethyst, Sphere of Resistance, Thalia, everything that increases cost, and I just cast one spell per turn.
Turn 1, Demonic Consultation, Sphere of Resistance. Get 'em.
It's pretty good on any of those commanders that like come in with stuff based on how much mana you spent to cast it, because those don't matter.
That's interesting. I don't play any commanders like that.
No, you
Oh,
don't,
wait.
do you?
Oh wait. Oh wait, my favorite commander.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting, man. I am surprised. So let's dig a little deeper, Mike.
Yeah.
How many decks are you seeing Sphere of Resistance in?
So it's happily in this 0% slot. You know, it's in the rounding error territory. It's in 10,000 decks, which is actually still quite a few.
10,000 Magda decks or
It's in 100% Magda decks. No, but it's in 10,000 decks out of the potential 3.8 million decks that it could be in EDH Rec. So it's not seeing like a lot of play, which could definitely be a part of this. But I think it's interesting to compare to, I think what you were getting at, Tony, a little more, which is it sometimes seems like it occupies a similar like headspace as like Winter Orb or like Static Orb, where they're these like relatively low cost artifacts that have like sort of a stacks game warping effect to them, but it just doesn't really hit as hard as Winter Orb. It's sort of like an inverse of a Winter Orb, where instead of only getting 1 mana, it's like everything costs 1 more mana. So I think it makes sense when we get into it a little bit, but I definitely initially would have expected it to be higher too.
It feels like it has to be a cEDH card in a very like niche set of cEDH decks.
Yeah.
Magda's good because it can kind of tutor through it. If you play this at a casual table, like they'll pay the 1 and then they're going to kill you so they can get rid of it, you know?
yeah.
It also matters a lot less in casual. The thing about it that's so potent in cEDH is like if you're playing 4 cards a turn, this slows you down a lot.
Yeah.
If you're playing your 1, you know, your 4 drop on your turn 4 and then your 5 drop on turn 5 in your casual game, like the 1 mana doesn't really matter. You're just shifted by 1 turn. Whereas in cEDH, when you're trying to play like 4 cards, your strategy isn't just shifted, it's completely shot. Like you have to change how you're going to try and go about it.
I do also wonder if like printing availability is a big factor with this card, because it has very few printings. So it's printed in Exodus, which was a 1998 set. And then it had a gold border version, which was in a World Champ deck in 1999. And then nothing until a Kaladesh Invention, which we all know how available those are, readily available those are. It's sitting at like $85 for the Kaladesh Invention. And only recently, only earlier this year, in a secret layer drop for Fallout, was it reprinted.
awesome. Bring in the Fallout players. Give it to them. Show them a good time. Let's go.
So it's really
it really gives you that wasteland feel.
Yeah. But it's really just not a card that, unless you're really seeking it out, you're not going to be flipping through like a bargain bin and find the stacks piece and be like, hey, let me toss it in a deck. You got to go back pretty far. You're really just looking at the original printing in Exodus or the Kaladesh invention. And that's pretty much it. And now the Secret Layer drop, which also isn't a widely available printing. So I think that it'll probably just stay where it is. But unless there's like a big reprint, I think availability is also going to hold it back. Not that it needs to be seeing a ton of play, but I feel like a lot of people haven't experienced it, and that relates to its low salt score.
Fair.
Well, that wraps it up for the Salty Card of the Week. Thanks for playing.
Well, thanks, Mike. That was a lovely salty card. And thank you, CGB, for hanging out in the salt mine with us.
So fun having you here.
It was a blast.
Absolutely. I had a great time. And remember, everybody, be good to your LGSs and don't be a total douchebag in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Words to live by.
Yeah. Do like randomly buy extra precons from them, though, if you have the disposal. That's fine. You can buy an extra spare one if you're unhappy with your choice. That's allowed.
Price spare one, buy some dice for tracking your life total.
Fun fact, you can buy multiple precons without getting like storm off raging mad and trying to throw one of them away. Like you can just also make another.
Can that be done?
It can be done. I've probably had this experience.
So CGB, if people are looking for more CovertGoBlue content, where can they find you? Give us a couple plugs here at the end.
Yeah, YouTube is the easiest. My YouTube channel, CovertGoBlue. It's not ConvertGoBlue. It's not any of the other weird combinations of letters that people have come up with me, like CBBG or whatever else they want to do. Just CovertGoBlue on YouTube. Otherwise, you'll see me poking around on the Instagrams and the X's and also on Twitch from time to time. But YouTube's my home.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's a great channel. Go check it out, everybody. If you haven't looked at it, if you love arena play, if you want to see somebody raging with their brand new deck that didn't really work out, go check that out.
Oh yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us. This was super, super fun.
Oh yeah.
Thank you guys.
And thank you to all of the prospectors out there who tuned in today. We got to shout out our Salt Packet Plus tier members. And they are Thotimus Prime, Rothbox, Bobo Fett, Randon Mousecop, Chameleon, Bremstone, Captain Cross, Clearbrook, D. Beeson, Gilgamesh, Doug's Dad, Bark Bark, Firehawk Ash, Ebes, JS Evolved, Kylock, Pez, Vok, and Swankub. Thank you all for your support. It really means a lot. And of course, thank you to everybody else out there in Prospector Land for tuning into this episode. We really hope you enjoy it. And if you're looking for more Howling Saltmine content, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Howling Saltmine. We have our monthly Extra Salt show that you can check out. It's a full-length episode, a brand new one every single month, where we're doing things, breaking away from our typical format, talking about cards we love, doing deck techs, doing Q&As. We also have bonus content on there just for all the patrons. We did one for our 1-year anniversary, and we're probably got something cooked up for our 2-year anniversary that's coming up soon. We also have our Stray Grains, which are all the tangents that don't make it into the final cut of the show. Lots of funny little random things. So go check that out. Another way you can support the show is to send us your salty stories. You can send those to our Gmail at thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com or on our lovely website that I mentioned earlier, howlingsaltmine.com or thehowlingsaltmine.com. Another way that you can support us is on our Bonfire store, where we have a lot of awesome merchandise, like t-shirts and fun things like that, or buy a playmat from our buddies over at Jank Mats. We got our logo playmat on there. We have some new designs we're cooking up that are going to be up there, so check it out. Another way you can help out the show is to give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app of choice, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. That is going to help us stick out in the algorithm, especially on Spotify, help new people have our podcast be suggested to them so they discover us, jump in, find the show. It's a great way to support the show, and it's free. Anyone can do that. And lastly, we got to shout him out every single week. Our amazing friend, Devin Burnett, for gifting us this beautiful podcast art. If you're ever in Asheville, North Carolina, hit him up and get a tattoo. He's a really cool guy.
and 1,000 subscribers or bust.
Indeed. Well, CGB, thanks again for being on the show. We really appreciate it, man. This is fun.
Dude.
Absolutely. And patrons, you know what to do. Get them to the mine. Get them to the mine. I want the show in the mine.
I also want to record in the mine, please.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again,
Yeah.
everybody. And as always, stay salty and don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Song Line. The Howling Song Line.
There's usually music right there. What's going on?
Why is this so
Where's
much
the
less
music?
climactic?
God, it's just like an empty spot there? Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, his flight got changed, and he ended up being able to make it, which is a real bummer.
Sucks.
Get fucked.
I was looking forward to a lot of things besides being called trash tonight. This is going to get awkward really fast.
We edit the crap out of this show, so also if we're ever like talking over each other, it's
My
highly
immersion. I'll never listen to it the same again. Editing. Okay.
Tony's edited like 4
Perfectly
episodes.
capable.
You are capable.
That sounds like a lot.
I think it. Yeah,
I did at least 4. Are you fucking kidding me?
I think
right
I
now?
fluffed it up. I think
Yes.
it's 3. I think it's 3.
I think it's one.
Definitely at least 4. You guys fucking suck.